Hello, I'm Noah Caldwell, 30 years old, standing in the cramped kitchen of my one-bedroom apartment outside Fort Meade, Maryland, holding a stack of mail that feels heavier than it should. The fluorescent light above flickers intermittently, casting shadows across the sparse room. Most people would call this place depressing. Bare walls, a fold-out table, a single chair. But to me, it's sanctuary. It's quiet. It's safe. No one here knows who I really am. I've just returned from 3 weeks in Eastern Europe, a mission I can't talk about, in a country I can't name, doing work that doesn't officially exist. The kind of work that leaves you staring at ceilings at 3 a.m., wondering if the sacrifices are worth it. My body aches from the long flight, but my mind is still sharp, still scanning for threats that aren't there. Old habits. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. As I flip through the usual suspects, bills, junk mail, a notice from my landlord, something stops me cold. An ornate cream envelope with my name written in elegant script. The return address makes my chest tighten. The Caldwell family, Ash Grove, Alabama. For a moment I just stare at it. 10 years. It's been 10 years since I've heard from home. 10 years since my father, Tom Caldwell, looked me in the eye and called me a disgrace to the family name. 10 years since I walked out of that house in rural Alabama, carrying nothing but a duffel bag and the weight of their disappointment. My hands shake slightly as I open it. Inside is a wedding invitation, thick cardstock with gold lettering. Lena Marie Caldwell and David James Morrison request your presence. My little sister, Lena, is getting married. I remember her as a 12-year-old with pigtails and a gap-toothed smile, always defending me when our older brother Caleb would mock my lack of ambition. She was the only one who never looked at me like I was broken, like I'd wasted my potential by not going to college, by taking that job at Murphy's gas station on the edge of town. If only they knew the truth. I walk to my bedroom closet and push aside the hanging civilian clothes, my cover wardrobe of plain shirts and khakis. Behind them sits a small, fireproof safe. I punch in the code and retrieve a manila folder marked with classifications my family will never see. Inside are commendations, mission reports, photographs of me in dress uniforms standing next to generals whose names make headlines. Colonel Noah Caldwell, Army Intelligence. The man my family believes pumped gas and counted register money is actually one of the most decorated covert operatives in the U.S. military. There's also a letter, creased from being folded and refolded countless times. Raina's handwriting, my ex-girlfriend, my former partner in more ways than one. Army medic, brilliant, fierce. She wrote this 3 years ago, before our final deployment together. Noah, you have the kind of quiet courage that changes the world. Don't let anyone, not even family, make you forget that. I hold Lena's invitation again. Part of me wants to burn it, to maintain the safe distance I've built. But another part, the part that still remembers Sunday dinners and Christmas mornings, whispers that maybe it's time. I slip the invitation into my jacket pocket. Tomorrow, I'll make a decision that could shatter the carefully constructed walls I've built around my double life. But tonight, for the first time in years, I allow myself to remember what it felt like to belong somewhere. 3 days later, I'm driving my rental car down Highway 65, watching the familiar red clay hills of Alabama roll past my windows. The closer I get to Ash Grove, the tighter my chest becomes. It's strange how a landscape can hold so much pain. These same rolling fields and towering pines that once meant home now feel like enemy territory. I pull into the Sunset Motel on the outskirts of town, a place I would have been embarrassed to be seen at in high school. The irony isn't lost on me. I've slept in far worse places during missions in Afghanistan and Syria, but somehow this feels more degrading. At least overseas I was serving a purpose. Here, I'm just a man hiding from his own family. The desk clerk, a woman with kind eyes and gray hair, doesn't recognize me. That's a relief. I check in under my real name, No point in aliases here, and request a room facing away from town. Old habits. Always have an exit strategy. After dropping my single bag in the room, I decide to walk through Ashgrove. Maybe it's masochism, or maybe I need to remind myself why I left. The town hasn't changed much. Main Street still has Peterson's Hardware, Mabel's Diner, and the old courthouse, with its Confederate monument that sparked heated town meetings when I was a teenager. I drive slowly past the house where I grew up, a modest two-story with a wraparound porch that my father built with his own hands. The white paint is fresh, the lawn meticulously maintained. Tom Caldwell's truck sits in the driveway, the same Ford he drove when I was a kid, though it looks newer. He probably bought the exact same model. Consistency was always his thing. I don't stop. I can't. Not yet. Instead, I find myself at Murphy's gas station, the place where my supposed career began and ended. The building looks smaller than I remember, more run down. A teenager with acne and a bored expression mans the counter now. He doesn't know that 10 years ago, I stood in that exact spot, pumping gas and changing oil, letting my family believe I was wasting my life while secretly reporting to Fort Benning for specialized training every weekend. At Mabel's Diner, I order coffee and try to sit unnoticed in a corner booth. But small towns have long memories. Betty Morrison, David's aunt, I realize with a start, recognizes me immediately. Well, I'll be damned. Noah Caldwell. She approaches with the confidence of someone who's never left her hometown. Heard you were still pumping gas somewhere up north. You coming back for Lena's wedding? I nod, forcing a smile. Just passing through. That's nice, honey. Your family's real proud of that girl. Teacher of the Year 2 years running. She pauses, her expression softening with what might be pity. I'm sure they'll be glad to see you, too. The lie tastes bitter in my mouth. Yeah, I'm sure. That night, alone in the motel room with its faded floral wallpaper and humming air conditioner, I pull out Raina's letter again. Her words blur through my tired eyes, but I know them by heart. The hardest battles aren't fought with weapons, Noah. They're fought with the choice to keep believing in yourself when everyone else has given up on you. She was right, as usual. Tomorrow is the wedding. Tomorrow I'll sit in the back row of whatever church or venue Lena chose, watch my little sister marry a good man, and slip away before anyone notices. It's not about reconciliation or forgiveness anymore. It's about respect. Respect for the woman who never stopped sending me birthday cards, even when I never sent them back. I fold the letter carefully and place it back in my wallet. In 12 hours, I'll face the people who shaped me and ultimately drove me away. But for the first time in years, I'm not running toward danger. I'm walking straight into it. The Morrison family chose Magnolia Gardens for the venue, a restored antebellum mansion with sprawling oak trees draped in Spanish moss. White chairs are arranged in neat rows facing an archway of climbing roses. It's beautiful. Exactly what Lena always dreamed of during those late-night conversations when she was 13 and I was barely 18. I arrive 30 minutes before the ceremony, wearing my best civilian clothes, a navy suit I bought specifically for blending in at embassy functions. My plan is simple: back row, minimal eye contact, quick exit during the reception. I'm here for Lena, not for closure or confrontation. The parking lot fills with cars I recognize. There's Pastor William's old Buick, the Henderson family's minivan, and my father's truck. My chest tightens as I see familiar faces streaming toward the venue. These people knew me as the Caldwell boy who lost his way. They have no idea I've spent the last decade serving in places they can't pronounce, doing work they can't imagine. I take a seat in the last row, positioning myself behind a large gentleman in a cowboy hat. Perfect cover. From here, I can see the altar where Lena will say her vows, but I'm virtually invisible to the family section up front. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. My parents sit in the second row. My father's posture, military straight even in civilian clothes. Tom Caldwell, retired sheriff, pillar of the community. My mother, Helen, fidgets with her purse strap, a nervous habit she's had since I was a child. Caleb sits beside them in an expensive suit, probably discussing quarterly earnings or mortgage rates with whoever will listen. My older brother, the success story, the one who proved Caldwell men could achieve great things in the real world. Then I see her. Lena appears at the back of the aisle in a flowing white dress that makes her look like something from a fairy tale. She's radiant, confident, grown into the kind of woman who commands attention without demanding it. For a moment, our eyes meet across the crowded venue. She doesn't gasp or wave, doesn't draw attention to my presence. Instead, she offers the smallest smile, knowing, grateful, unsurprised. She expected me to come. As the ceremony begins and Lena walks down the aisle, I notice an older gentleman in a crisp suit taking a seat near the groom's family section. Distinguished, silver-haired, with the bearing of someone accustomed to command, my blood runs cold. General Malcolm Hayes, my commanding officer. What the hell is he doing here? I sink lower in my seat, pulling my phone out to check for any emergency communications I might have missed. Nothing. Hayes catches sight of me and nods slightly, a gesture that could mean anything from acknowledgement to "we need to talk." My carefully planned invisibility just became infinitely more complicated. As Lena begins her vows, I'm already calculating exit strategies and wondering if my decade of secrets is about to unravel in the most public way possible. The ceremony ends beautifully. Lena and David kiss as husband and wife while the crowd erupts in applause. I clap from my back row position, genuinely happy for her despite the knot in my stomach. My plan is to slip out during the transition to the reception, but the crowd moves slowly, everyone eager to congratulate the couple. I'm making my way toward the parking lot when a firm hand grabs my shoulder. Colonel Caldwell. I freeze. That voice. That tone of authority I've heard in briefing rooms from Langley to Stuttgart. I turn slowly to face General Hayes, who's beaming at me like we're old friends meeting at a barbecue. "General," I respond quietly, hoping he'll take the hint and lower his voice. But Hayes is in full social mode, his voice carrying across the garden reception area. "I had no idea you were from Alabama. Small world, isn't it? How's that shoulder healing up from the Prague operation?" Several nearby guests turn at the sound of Colonel and Prague operation. I feel their eyes on us, confusion rippling through the crowd like stones dropped in still water. Hayes realizes his mistake a split second too late. His expression shifts from jovial to horrified. "Sir, I think you might have me confused with someone else," I say desperately, forcing a laugh that sounds hollow even to my ears. "I work in logistics." But the damage is done. Tom Caldwell has turned from his conversation near the punch table, his sharp sheriff's instincts picking up on the commotion. Helen follows his gaze. Caleb stops mid-sentence in whatever financial wisdom he was dispensing to the Morrison cousins. "Colonel?" My father's voice cuts through the garden chatter like a blade. He approaches slowly, his weathered face a mask of confusion and growing suspicion. "What did you call my son?" Hayes, to his credit, tries to salvage the situation. "I'm sorry, I must have mistaken you for someone else. You look remarkably like an officer I know." "Prague operation?" Caleb has joined the growing circle, his skeptical expression suggesting he smells a lie from a mile away. "Noah, what's he talking about?" The crowd around us grows larger. Wedding guests sense drama unfolding, that magnetic pull of other people's business that small towns can't resist. Lena appears at the edge of the group, still in her wedding dress, her face a mixture of concern and something that looks almost like anticipation. "It's nothing," I say, but my voice lacks conviction. "Just a misunderstanding." My mother steps closer, her eyes searching my face with the intensity she used to reserve for checking if I was lying about broken windows or missed curfews. "Noah? What's going on?" General Hayes clears his throat uncomfortably. "Perhaps we should speak privately." "No," Tom's voice brooks no argument. "If there's something to say about my son, you can say it here." The word son hits me like a physical blow. He hasn't called me that in 10 years. Around us, the reception chatter dies down as more people notice the tension. Lena's perfect wedding day is becoming a scene from a soap opera, and it's all my fault. I look at the faces surrounding me. Confusion, curiosity, suspicion. The moment I've dreaded for a decade has arrived, and there's nowhere left to run. Family meeting, now. Tom's voice carries the authority that once commanded respect from deputies and criminals alike. He gestures toward a secluded garden area behind the main reception tent, away from the curious eyes of wedding guests. We walk in tense silence, Tom leading, Helen clutching her purse, Caleb shaking his head in disbelief, and me bringing up the rear like a prisoner being led to execution. Lena follows at a distance, still in her wedding dress, her bouquet forgotten somewhere near the punch table. Once we're alone among the towering magnolias, Tom turns to face me with the intensity of a man demanding answers. 10 years, Noah. 10 goddamn years of thinking my son was pumping gas and wasting his life. Now some general shows up calling you Colonel and talking about operations in Prague. Dad, I can explain. Don't. His voice cracks, with emotion I haven't heard since I was a child. Don't call me Dad until you tell me the truth, all of it. I take a deep breath, feeling the weight of a decade's worth of lies crushing down on my chest. I never worked at Murphy's gas station. Well, I did, but only as cover. I was recruited into Army intelligence straight out of high school. Specialized training, then Delta Force, then covert operations. Bullshit. Caleb steps forward, his corporate confidence turning into angry skepticism. You? The guy who barely graduated high school? You expect us to believe you're some kind of secret agent? Not secret agent. Intelligence operative. Cyber warfare, counterintelligence, deep cover missions. I look directly at Tom, whose face has gone pale. The injury story was real. Shrapnel from an IED in Iraq while protecting a convoy of civilian contractors. But I didn't leave the military. I got promoted. Helen's hand flies to her mouth. Oh my God, all those years thinking you'd given up. You let us believe you were a failure. Tom's voice is barely controlled fury mixed with something that might be pain. You sat at our dinner table and let your mother worry herself sick thinking she'd raised a quitter. I had no choice. The words explode out of me with 10 years of suppressed frustration. My cover had to be believable. If anyone knew what I really did, it would compromise missions, endanger assets, put targets on all of you. So you chose strangers over your family? Caleb's voice drips with disdain. You chose to let us think you were a loser rather than trust us? I chose to protect you. I'm shouting now, years of silence finally breaking. Do you have any idea what I've done? The people I've stopped? The attacks prevented? The lives saved? And yes, I did it while letting my family think I was worthless, because that was the sacrifice required. Lena steps forward for the first time, her voice quiet but clear. I knew. All eyes turn to her. She stands there in her wedding dress, looking like an angel delivering judgment. I've known for 3 years. A friend in military communications recognized your name on a classified list. I never said anything because I figured you had your reasons. She looks at Tom and Helen. He's been protecting us this whole time. The garden falls silent, except for the distant sound of wedding music and laughter. The celebration continuing while our family implodes and rebuilds simultaneously. The family disperses in uncomfortable silence. Tom walks away without a word, his shoulders rigid with the weight of revelation. Helen follows, glancing back at me with eyes full of questions she doesn't know how to ask. Caleb mutters something about needing a drink and stalks toward the bar, leaving me alone with the bride. Noah, wait! Lena catches my arm as I turn to leave. Don't you dare disappear again. Lena, your wedding day is ruined because of me. I should go. My wedding day is perfect because you're here. She kicks off her heels and sits on a stone bench beneath an old oak tree, patting the space beside her. Besides, I have something for you. Reluctantly, I sit down, feeling surreal in my suit next to her flowing white dress. She reaches into a hidden pocket in her gown and pulls out a small, leather-bound book. "I made this over the years," she says, placing it in my hands. "Open it." The first page takes my breath away. It's a photograph of us as kids, me teaching her to ride a bike in our backyard, both of us grinning at the camera. On the opposite page, in her careful teacher's handwriting, "My brother Noah has always been my hero, even when he didn't know it." I flipped through pages of memories I thought were lost forever. Birthday cards I never responded to. Copies of letters she wrote but never sent. Newspaper clippings about military achievements that she somehow connected to me without confirmation. Near the back, there's a drawing in crayon, stick figures in army uniforms with "My hero Noah Caldwell" written in a child's shaky letters. "Where did you get this?" I ask, holding up the drawing. "Emma Rodriguez, one of my third graders. Her father is stationed at Fort Benning. Last year, she did a project on local heroes and somehow found your name on a list of Medal of Honor recipients. She doesn't know you're my brother, but she drew this after I told her about a soldier who protects people quietly." My eyes blur as I continue turning pages. There's a photograph of me in dress uniform that I've never seen before, taken from a distance at some ceremony I can't remember. Lena has written underneath, "I see you even when you think you're invisible." "How long have you known?" I whisper. "That you were more than a gas station attendant? Since you were 19. That you were military intelligence? 3 years, like I said. That you won the Distinguished Service Cross for actions in Syria?" She smiles. "Since yesterday." General Hayes is David's godfather. He's been telling stories about his best colonel all week. I close the book and look at my sister, this woman who saw through my lies, protected my secrets, and never stopped believing in me. "I'm sorry I missed so much." "You didn't miss anything," she says firmly. "You were exactly where you needed to be. But Noah, I didn't invite you to this wedding just as my brother. I needed you here as my hero." She stands and smooths her dress. "Now, are you going to keep running, or are you going to stay and dance with the bride?" For the first time in 10 years, the answer is easy. Later that evening, while I'm helping stack chairs in the fading twilight, General Hayes approaches me with a manila envelope tucked under his arm. His earlier embarrassment has been replaced by something more serious. "Colonel, I owe you an apology, and your family an explanation." He hands me the envelope. "Give this to your father. It's time he knew what kind of son he raised." I don't open it, but I can guess what's inside. Service records, mission summaries, commendations that paint a picture of the last 10 years my family never saw. "Sir, with respect, I'm not sure this is—" "It is. Trust me on this one." Hayes claps my shoulder. "Some wounds need truth to heal properly." An hour later, I'm standing on the porch of my childhood home, envelope in hand. Through the front window, I can see Tom sitting alone in his study, still wearing his wedding clothes. Helen must have gone to bed. I knock softly. It's open. I find him staring at a glass of whiskey he hasn't touched, his face etched with the kind of exhaustion that comes from having your world turned upside down. The room smells like old leather and gun oil, exactly as I remember. "General Hayes asked me to give you this." I place the envelope on his desk. Tom looks at it like it might explode. "What is it?" "My service record. The real one." He opens it slowly, his weathered hands careful with the official documents. I watch his face change as he reads, confusion giving way to understanding, then to something that might be pride, and finally to what I recognize as grief. Distinguished Service Cross. His voice is barely a whisper. Purple Heart. Bronze Star with Valor. He looks up at me, and for the first time in 10 years, his eyes aren't filled with disappointment. "Jesus, Noah, what you must have seen, what you must have done." I did what needed doing. He continues reading, occasionally shaking his head. When he reaches the psychological evaluation section, I see him flinch. It says here you declined counseling multiple times. Says you carry, quote, "significant emotional burden from classified operations." "Dad?" "Don't." He stands abruptly, walking to the window that overlooks the backyard where he taught me to throw a football. "All these years I thought I'd failed you. Thought I'd raised a son without backbone. without purpose. His voice cracks. But I was the failure. I was so busy looking for the son I expected that I never saw the man you became. Helen appears in the doorway, wearing her robe and an expression of quiet concern. Tom? What's going on? He turns to her, tears in his eyes for the first time since his father's funeral. Helen, our boy isn't a disgrace. He's a goddamn hero. She steps into the room, and for a moment, we're just a family again. Broken, confused, but finally together in the truth. I'm awake before my phone alarm, staring at the motel ceiling and wondering if last night was real or some elaborate dream. The knock on my door at 6 a.m. confirms it wasn't a dream. Noah, it's your father. I open the door to find Tom standing there with 2 travel mugs of coffee and an expression I haven't seen since I was 12 years old, uncertain, almost vulnerable. He's changed out of his wedding clothes into worn jeans and a flannel shirt that makes him look more like the dad who taught me to fish than the sheriff who called me a disgrace. Thought you might want to see the sunrise at Miller's Pond, like we used to. The old fishing spot is a 20-minute drive through winding back roads I could navigate blindfolded. We ride in silence, both of us knowing this conversation has been 10 years in the making. The pond sits nestled between rolling hills, its surface like glass in the morning stillness. Tom parks near the same fallen log where we used to sit and cast our lines. This time neither of us brought fishing gear, just coffee and a decade of unspoken words. I brought something for you. He reaches into his truck and pulls out a triangular wooden case, the kind used to display folded American flags. This was mine from Vietnam. Been sitting in my closet gathering dust. He hands it to me, and I feel the weight of it. Not just the flag, but everything it represents. Dad, I can't take this. You can, and you will. His voice carries the authority I remember from childhood, but it's gentler now. I spent 30 years telling stories about serving my country, wearing my service like a badge of honor. You spent 10 years actually doing it and never said a word. I hold the case against my chest, feeling something shift inside me, a knot I've carried for so long I'd forgotten it was there. I thought I raised a coward. Tom's voice breaks slightly. Turns out I raised the bravest man I know. I just was too stubborn and proud to see it. I never wanted medals or recognition. I just wanted to protect people. Protect you and Mom and Lena. I know that now. He stares across the pond where a blue heron stands motionless in the shallows. But son, you can't protect people by disappearing from their lives. We needed you here too. The word son hits me differently this time. Not sharp with disappointment, but warm with acceptance. I'm sorry I wasn't the father you deserved when you needed me most. Tom extends his hand. Think there's room in your life for a foolish old man to try again? I shake his hand, then pull him into the first hug we've shared since I was 18. There's always been room, Dad. I just didn't know how to ask. The sun breaks over the hills, painting the pond gold, and for the first time in 10 years, I feel like I'm home. The post-wedding brunch at the Morrison family home feels like stepping into an alternate reality. Instead of sneaking in through the back door, I walk through the front entrance with my parents. Instead of hiding in corners, I sit at the main table with my family, my real family, finally seeing me for who I actually am. Ladies and gentlemen, David stands and taps his coffee cup with a spoon, drawing the attention of the 30 or so guests scattered across the sunlit dining room. I'd like to introduce someone special. Lena's brother Noah couldn't be with us yesterday due to, well, let's just say he had some classified business to attend to. A ripple of confused laughter runs through the crowd. David grins and continues. What I mean is, we're honored to have Colonel Noah Caldwell here with us today, a decorated Army intelligence officer who spent the last decade serving our country in ways we'll probably never fully understand. The room erupts in applause. I feel my face burning with embarrassment, and something I haven't felt in years. Genuine pride. Betty Morrison, who just yesterday pitied me for still pumping gas, now stares at me with wide-eyed amazement. Well, I'll be damned, she whispers loudly enough for half the room to hear. Caleb, sitting across from me, shakes his head with what might actually be a smile. You know, I always wondered how someone could be so calm during Dad's interrogations about curfew. Turns out you were trained for it. Professional development, I reply with a straight face, earning actual laughter from my brother for the first time since we were kids. Helen reaches over and squeezes my hand. I'm so proud of you, she whispers, tears in her eyes, and I'm so sorry we made you carry this alone. Pastor Williams approaches our table, his expression mixing awe with slight confusion. Son, I've been praying for you for 10 years, thinking you needed guidance. Turns out God had you exactly where He wanted you. General Hayes, who's been watching from across the room with obvious relief that his slip-up led to something good, raises his coffee cup in a toast. To the Caldwell family, and to the men and women who serve in silence. As the guests raise their cups, I catch Lena's eye. She's beaming at me with the same gap-toothed grin she had as a 12-year-old, except now she's in her going-away outfit, ready to start her honeymoon. Thank you, I mouth to her. She mouths back, welcome home. For the first time in a decade, I don't feel like Noah Caldwell the disappointment, or Noah Caldwell the ghost. I'm just Noah, son, brother, soldier, and finally seen for who I really am. The weight I've carried for 10 years doesn't disappear, but it shifts, becoming something I can bear with help instead of something I have to carry alone. 2 weeks later, I'm back in my apartment outside Fort Meade, but everything has changed. The sparse room that once felt like a safe house now feels temporary, like a place I'm passing through rather than hiding in. On my desk sits a framed photo from Lena's wedding, the whole Caldwell family together, me in my dress uniform that Tom insisted I wear for the official pictures. I'm writing a letter to Raina. After 3 years of silence, I finally have something worth saying. Dear Raina, you always said the hardest battles aren't fought with weapons, but with the choice to keep believing in yourself when everyone else has given up on you. Last week, I learned something else. Sometimes the people who seem to have given up on you are just waiting for permission to see who you really are. My family knows now. About everything. And you were right about another thing. I didn't need their approval to be proud of what we've done, but having it feels like coming up for air after holding my breath for 10 years. A knock at my door interrupts my writing. The delivery driver hands me a package with my parents' return address. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, is something that makes my throat tighten. My old football jersey from high school, the one I left behind when I stormed out a decade ago. Helen has carefully mended a small tear in the shoulder and washed it until it smells like home. Tucked into the folds is a note in my father's handwriting. Found this in the attic. Figured it was time it came back where it belongs. Your mother says dinner is at 6 every Sunday if you're ever in the neighborhood. Dad. Underneath that, in Helen's neat script, we love you. We've always loved you. We just forgot how to show it. Mom. I hang the jersey on my closet door next to my dress uniform. Past and present, the boy I was and the man I became, finally in the same place. My secure phone buzzes. A new assignment, details classified as always. But this time, when I read the mission brief, I don't feel the familiar weight of secrets settling on my shoulders. Instead, I think about the photo on my desk, about Sunday dinners, about a family that finally sees me. I pick up my pen and start a new letter. Dear Mom and Dad, thank you for the jersey. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for loving the son you thought you'd lost, while I was busy becoming the man you raised me to be. I sign it the way I should have 10 years ago. Love, your son, Noah. Outside my window, the Maryland sun sets over Fort Meade, but for the first time in years I'm not thinking about shadows or cover stories, or the weight of secrets. I'm thinking about Sunday dinner, and the family that's finally ready to meet the real Noah Caldwell. The boy who left home a disgrace has become a man who serves with honor, and now, finally, he has a family who knows the difference. Up next, we have 2 more incredible stories that are waiting for you. Just click the image you want to watch, and it will take you there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. It would mean a lot.